What year is your daughter going to be? I know that she's long gone from education. Oh, is she? We're just waiting for our town manager to get back in here.
That's 75 degrees. Why don't we see if we can? I don't know. I've never figured out how to make it work. Maybe Krista can. Yeah. You just pump it out. I think it's like set. Yeah, a little warm, right? I'm not doing anything.
Oh, here she comes.
That's okay. It nearly killed you.
Now we're waiting until we try to adjust the temperature.
Rich is our expert.
It's amazing how much these women don't know how to do.
That's a thought.
Okay, we're ready to go. I'm calling to order the regular meeting of the Ross Town Council for Thursday, June 15th, 2023. Have the agenda been posted?
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. We now come to an open time for public expression. This is the opportunity for any member of the public who wishes to address the council on issues not on our agenda tonight to speak. You are limited to 3 minutes. There are some lights that'll down here that'll show you when you're getting close to your 3 minutes. Please don't run over. Is there any member of the public in the chambers who wishes to address us on any issue not on the agenda tonight? Come on up.
Great, thank you. Hi, good evening. My name is Tara Arenas, and I'm here with my daughter, Magdalene Arenas. We live in Fairfax, and I work for the County of Marin, and my husband works for Ross Valley Fire Department. I'm just here to represent and support our firefighters here in the Ross Valley. Last night, we had a very disappointing and disheartening vote that happened at the fire board meeting, the Ross Valley Fire Board meeting. We needed a unanimous vote in order to use a pretty big, large number of reserve monies to go to renovations and restoring and upgrades in our very dilapidated fire stations in Ross Valley. Fairfax, San Anselmo, Sleepy Hollow all voted yes, no problem, and the 2 council members of Ross, Town of Ross voted no. This actually now that money, the $800,000, is now not able to be used in the manner that we were really hoping and wanting this to be used. The money was also pooled by the fact that our firefighters go out to big campaign fires, they risk their lives, and when they go out, they're being paid by different types of funding. And so that money then becomes reserve that they would have normally have received were they working in Ross Valley. So that money really does belong in their discretion, right? And they already have architects designing these. When the firehouse closes here, they're going to disband, and these firefighters are going to go to the other stations. And the Ross Valley Fire Department will still respond to Ross. So we still need to take care of the Ross Valley firefighters. I hope that you'll go and tour some of these stations. It's sad. It's from the 1960s. They're in small cots. There's not enough bathrooms for all of their firefighters when they all move in. And it's $186,000 we're talking about. So I hope that the people here of Ross can question the council members that voted no, ask them why that happened. And when you're dialing 911 and someone responds to you at 2 a.m, first know that there's families that don't have their firefighter husband or wife. And second, this is their life that they're devoting themselves to. $186,000, you're kidding me, that we can't say yes to that to help them have a new
3 minutes are up.
toilet.
Will you wind it up?
That's fine, I'm done. I hope that can be on the table and questioned. Thank you, have a nice evening.
As you're probably aware, we're not allowed to respond to discuss this issue because it's not on our agenda. Is there anyone else in the chambers who wishes to provide us with open time public comment? Is there anyone on Zoom who wishes to do so?
There are no raised hands at this time.
Okay, then we'll move on to the next item, which is my report. This month marks the end of my third time around as mayor of Ross. As you probably are aware, the positions of mayor and mayor pro tempore are filled by members of the council selected by the council membership to represent the town to the public and the press and to guide the direction which the town takes by setting the agendas of our meetings to include matters which need attention. At our June meeting, we will have selected the individuals to perform those duties for the next year. Typically, but not always, year-to-year continuity is provided by selection of the previous year's mayor pro tem as the new mayor. A returning council member is selected as new mayor pro tempore, whose service in that role provides the necessary exposure to the town's operations to provide the experience for next year's continuity. With 2 of our council members whose terms run out early next year, not seeking re-election, it will be vital that we have knowledgeable residents ready to run to fill those vacancies. If any of you would consider running, I hope you're free to contact any one of the current council members to learn what the job entails. Before I end, I want to offer my thanks to the many who have supported me during this past year. I won't attempt to mention everybody by name, but the smooth way that our various staff departments perform their functions is proof of their good work. So thanks to our entire Ross staff, including several interim people who have stepped in to fill gaps while we recruited permanent employees. There are a couple of people I do need to mention specifically for their roles in making things easy for me personally. First, thanks to Krista Johnson, our town manager. She has always been available and quick to respond to situations that need attention, and she always does it with a smile. Her good judgment has delivered a lot of quick resolutions of what could have become difficult situations. Similar thanks must go to our town administrative manager and clerk, Cindy Martell. Cindy managed effortlessly to absorb all the little things that go into taking over a smooth running operation with a smile and the solution to how to get things done efficiently. The support of these 2 made the job of being mayor a piece of cake. Sincere thanks to both, and thanks to all the rest of our town staff. Most importantly, I want to thank you, the residents of our town, for the support you provide all of us. I greatly appreciate the many communications you send us, both the ones with helpful suggestions and the ones with critical comments have been useful in keeping me on my toes and moving forward. I recognize that without your input and support, this year would not have been the pleasant experience that it has been. The next item on our agenda is the appointment of a mayor for the next year. I will, first of all, is there any, I take it there's no staff report with regard to that? Okay. Any member of the public who wishes to address this issue may do so at this time. Is there anyone who wants to address this issue? Seeing no one in the chambers, will you tell me if there's anyone on Zoom?
There is no
And
one on
there's
Zoom.
not. Okay. So we'll now bring it back to the council for appointment of a mayor for the next year.
So I would like to make a motion to nominate Elizabeth Breckus as mayor.
Is there a second?
Second?
Okay, let's take a roll call vote.
Councilmember McMillan?
Aye.
Councilmember Kircher?
Aye.
Councilmember Robbins?
Aye.
Mayor Cool?
Aye.
Councilmember Breckus? All right, unanimously, 5-0.
Well, congratulations, we have a new mayor, Elizabeth Breckus. And before I move over and trade seats with her, we're going to conduct an appointment of a mayor pro tempore. Is there any member of the public who wishes to address the council on this issue? I see none in the chambers. Is there anyone on Zoom who wishes to address us on this issue?
There are no raised hands on Zoom.
In that case, I'll bring it back to the council for consideration. Yes, Julie?
May I make a motion to
Yes.
nominate Bill Kirscher as assistant mayor?
Is there a second?
Second?
Okay, let's have a vote.
Councilmember McMillan?
Aye.
Councilmember Kircher?
Aye.
Councilmember Robbins?
Aye.
Councilmember Cool?
Aye.
Mayor Breckus? All right, with a vote of 5, unanimous.
Congratulations, Bill, you're our new mayor pro tem. And at this point, I'm going to move aside and let our new mayor take charge.
We could do that another day. Yep, thank you. Wait, no, this is. Yeah. Yeah, yeah. All right, next item on the agenda is employee appreciation and recognition of Barbara Rear, building permit technician, for 5 years of service.
Good evening, council, mayor pro tem. Barbara Rear, or Barb as we call her, has been a permit technician with the town of Ross for 5 years. Prior to working in the town of Ross, she worked in the city of San Rafael for 15 years as a permit technician. Barb received her Bachelor of Science in Zoology from Ohio University and currently lives with her daughter, 2 dogs, 1 cat, and many fish in San Rafael. Here in Ross, she receives and processes building and planning applications, assists residents by phone, at the counter, and by email. She also schedules all resale inspections and answers many residents' general questions or finds the right person to do so. She does this all with kindness, grace, and a good sense of humor. I would like to acknowledge Barb for her hard work and dedication these past 5 years. Thank you, Barb.
The next item on our agenda is item 8, Marin Wildfire Prevention Authority, presentation from Executive Officer Mark Brown. We're also fine with an oral presentation if you can't get that running.
All right. Good evening, Mayor Breckus. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And council members, it's a pleasure to be here. I really, I'm passionate about the MWPA, so I love to come and talk about the MWPA. And as a career public servant, I really take public service seriously. And so that's why this presentation is really called What the MWPA is Doing for You, you being Ross and the taxpayers of Ross. So the Marin County NWPA is a one of a kind organization. And I'll transition. We really are a one of a kind organization that was bred through the coordination of 17 jurisdictions following the 2017 firestorms of the North Bay, and learning from what the North Bay, what we could do to protect ourselves so that we didn't run into the same type of disaster. Fire Chief Jason Weber put it very well. The thing that separated Sonoma County and Marin County that night in 2017 was we didn't have any ignitions. We had the wind, we had the fuel conditions, we had the potential for that type of devastation here. So we were able to create the MWPA with significant community support. 70.6% voted yes. I have a feeling we have a stronger support record right now. We also recognize that climate change has an impact, has helped create the wildfire environment that we have now. And we also feel that the work that we are doing is part of the solution for the climate crisis we have. We also acknowledge that everybody has a role to play. I'll touch on that a little bit more, and I'll also talk about our comprehensive long-term planning. The map that you see here shows the 17 different agencies, and then we've merged it into 5 different zones. And the 5 zones are key is because one size doesn't fit all, and we need different solutions for different areas. And I'll use Novato compared to the Ross Valley. Very different terrain, very different road network. Most of the roads in the Ross Valley, especially up in the hills, were designed for Model A's and Model T's, to be perfectly honest with you, right? Whereas Novato's a newer community, has wider roads, different evacuation problems. Novato tends to be grassier and more oak trees, where when we get into the Ross Valley, we start getting into heavier fuel. So it allows us to tailor projects for the zone we're in. We have 5 goals. I'm going to start in the middle of this. One of our goals is to reduce risks to homes. The reason why I like to start out in the middle is because we have a house out approach. And so this is where we work with our residents for home hardening, meaning decreasing structure ignitability, fire smart landscaping, so that the fire can stay within the footprint of the landscape and not extend to other people's landscapes or their homes. We work hard to improve evacuation systems, notifications and detections. And then we reduce wildfire fuels. And I'm going to talk a little bit later tonight about the Greater Ross Valley Shaded Fuel Break, and that is one of our landmark projects. It also, to me, is what the MWPA was created to do. We also work very hard on our evacuation clearance so that our roadways are safe during fire. Public education, over $1 million a year going towards public education. And an informed public makes good decisions. And finally, we have grants for our residents, which I'll touch on, and also low-income senior tax exemptions. We really do take a science-based approach. The picture on the left is our Community Wildfire Protection Plan parcel level risk assessment. This allows us to prioritize the most high priority areas. The picture you see in the middle is it's a house that was built for research, just so we can identify what is burning structures down. And we're actually embarking in research that no one else has done in the nation, and that's helping to drive our decision making. Measure C is a 10-year tax. We need to renew it after 10 years, but we're always going to have an evaluation at that 10-year mark. I, among others, feel that when we look back in those 10 years, our defensible space program will be viewed as the single largest success. And that is where we get to engage with our residents and help them become informed what their role is in the wildfire environment and how they can make their homes safer and make our communities safer. Last year, we had nearly 34,000 inspections throughout the MWPA. That's across approximately 80,000 inspectable properties. So that's a pretty good percentage. And the year before, we did 33,000. So we're keeping that pace. The number I really like the most, though, is that 60% took action. It doesn't mean they did everything on that list that we asked them, but at least they took some form of action, and they're putting together a plan to address the rest of those items. One way we can help is after they receive their defensible space report, they actually find out what's eligible for grants. Last year, we had 800,000 allocated for grant programs. We have another 800,000 allocated this year. 1,000 for defensible space, no match required. $5,000 for home hardening items. Home hardening would changing your siding, changing your roof. And then there's a few items that don't require a match because we think they're such high priority. That's vents, ember-resistant vents, gutter guards, and then the gasket that goes along the bottom of your garage. You'd be surprised how critical that is. And what we appreciate about our grant program, it helps motivate people to get work done. So for every dollar that the MWPA has contributed to support a resident, the resident on average is putting another $2. So we see that as a return on investment for our taxpayers. We also see our inspection program as a return on investment. Some locations, in order to get an inspection, you need to pay $150. Our residents on average pay $200 a year for the Measure C tax. So you're getting a free inspection. So your taxes you're already getting your return on your investment. And then I think our single largest return on investment is chipper days. After you receive your report, you can sign up for chipper days. So you have vegetation you need to remove. You have to dispose of it somehow, and that can get expensive. If you have a chipper truck show up at your house, that's about $300 to $500. So again, return on investment. This allows you to sign up as soon as you get the report, and then you can schedule when you're going to have this pickup. And we are 4 weeks into our Chipper Day program so far. We have doubled the numbers that we had last year at this time. And this is before we've had an aggressive inspection campaign for this season. So we think we're seeing a change in behavior. People just know to do it. Public education, Ember Stomp was a huge success on May 20th, but my favorite public education is that bottom left picture, and that is our defensible space evaluation program where our inspectors are talking to our residents. But Fire Safe Marin is our primary public educator, and they're broadcasting the message all over the place. I hope you guys have seen some of our full page ads, pop-ups, and listen to KCBS on the radio, so on and so forth. Evacuation route clearing. I think this picture speaks 1,000 words, and I think the before and after of that same road is vital. And not only is that road, in my opinion, safer during fire conditions, it's safer during day-to-day driving conditions as well. We've conducted an evacuation ingress-egress risk assessment that's evaluating every roadway within our joint JPA for fire risk, the traffic infrastructure, people's ability to receive messages, and the decision-making people actually make during evacuations. We compile that into about 12 layers, and it gives us a risk assessment of every roadway. And not only does it give us a risk assessment, it tells us why that roadway is dangerous. Is it vegetation? Well, then we can do this type of work. Is it traffic congestion? We can work with Public Works and our traffic agencies to create a solution for those. So right now, staff and I are reviewing the present conditions report from our contractor that created this. So we will be able to publish something here pretty soon. Everyone loves prescribed herbivory, otherwise known to everyone else in the world as grazing. Using goats, cattle, and sheep is an excellent way to help remove vegetation. And what we're actually finding is that it helps return the natives back to the landscape. We have areas where there has been routine grazing with a fence dividing it, and there's areas where the grazing has not occurred. And you're seeing the native vegetation come back where the grazing is, and the non-natives thriving where there is no grazing. Now the Greater Ross Valley Shaded Fuel Break. What is a shaded fuel break? It's exactly what, and not areas are shaded because where we're working, there wasn't shade to begin with. But if there was shade there before, we want shade to continue because it helps with the health of the forest, but it also keeps moisture down on the forest floor. And the more moisture we have down on the forest floor, when those embers come and land, less likely for them to ignite. It's really creating 100 to 300 feet of additional defensible space along our backyards in the wildland-urban interface boundary. What does success look like? It's not stopping fires. Success with a shaded fuel break is decreasing rate of spread, decreasing intensities, giving our residents more time to evacuate and under safer conditions, and allowing our firefighters to get in and fight fire. We designed these with using state-of-the-art modeling, looking at the terrain, the type, fuel type, and then we also prioritize where and when we should be constructing them. Most of it is through hand tools. Right now, no power tools at all during nesting bird season. We're actually just hand pulling broom. And it's really removing the non-native invasives is our primary work, removing the litter on the forest floor and limbing trees up. That allows embers that land to stay on the forest floor. They don't get up into the canopy, create new embers that blow into our homes. That's the new embers created by the long distance embers are really what destroys our homes. And the good news is with Measure C's revenue, we can continue to maintain them because we see these fuel breaks as infrastructure that we must maintain. And we were able to secure a $3.25 million grant from CAL FIRE to help fund the creation of the Greater Ross Valley Shaded Fuel Break. And they like to fund projects where they know that we have the money to be able to maintain it. So that's an attractive item for us. It's 38 miles following the contours of the Ross Valley. And the Greater Ross Valley Shaded Fuel Break did get tested by a fire last week. I wouldn't say, we can't take credit that the Greater Ross Valley Shaded Fuel Break decreased the fire intensity. It burned 1/8 of an acre. It was on a moist day. The fuels are still moist. So that fire would have burned 1/8 of an acre regardless. So why do I bring it up? We used modeling to prioritize where we were going to do our work first. And so to me, the fact that the first fire that threatened the boundary of the Greater Ross Valley Shaded Fuel Break occurred where we did our work already shows that the modeling had a lot of accuracy to it. So specific to Ross, Ross has an invasive vegetation treatment program used through the local monies that come in from MWPA, pass through to Ross. And this is to work on defensible space on town-owned property and or right-of-ways. It can be used in to help improve evacuation routes as well. And then Ross contributes $57,000 a year towards a consortium of agencies that have banded together and decided that we will work together. 14 agencies have come together within the MWPA and are using the same inspector pool. And we get a lot of benefits and economies of scale by being able to partner with that. And then the projects that we have for the Ross Valley zone, we continue with $200,000 going towards our evacuation route clearing. That's following $1.2 million over the last 2 years that went towards evacuation route clearing. Greater Ross Valley Shaded Fuel Break, $950,000. Last year we had $9,000 plus the $3.25 million. The $3.25 million is a 3-year grant. We're actually about halfway through spending that already. Greater Ross Valley Shaded Fuel Break is also on pace. We targeted 3 years for completion. We are 1/3 of the way through 1 year. So we feel that we're on target with the timing. And then the Greater Ross Valley has really identified the defensible space program as something that they want to increase the ability to have re-inspections. So they have augmented the funding on top of what we get from defensible space evaluations to provide re-inspections. We find that with public education, re-inspections really drives compliance. When people know that we're going to come back, take a look, they're more motivated to get the work done. And with that, I'm happy to take any questions.
Does any member of the council have any questions?
With respect to your work in regards to evacuation, improving evacuation routes and so forth, who in the county has ultimate responsibility for evacuation? Let's say there was a need to evacuate. Who would manage that? I assume it would not be your agency, it would be some other agency within the county.
Yeah, it's definitely not the MWPA. We're just providing the resources and tools to make it safer and more efficient. The evacuation responsibility resides with the law enforcement agency having jurisdiction. And then we have what's called unified command, where the law enforcement officer and the fire officer are standing side by side, and making decisions together. The fire officer will typically make recommendations where the evacuation should occur, but it does reside with the law enforcement agency's legal responsibility to provide those evacuation orders, warnings, and then they manage that evacuation.
So in Ross, would the legal responsibility be with our police department, or is there some greater umbrella?
No, it resides with your police department, but then your police department has mutual aid with all of its partner agencies, and you'll see CHP, Central Marin PD, Mill Valley PD, you'll see Novato PD here. They will be coming here door to door, pounding on the doors, also staffing the traffic control sites to make sure the traffic is efficient going outside.
Thank you.
Okay. This is a non-action item, so I don't necessarily need to bring it open for the public. Yes. This is a non-action item, so I don't necessarily need to bring it open. So I'm going to move on to item number 9, council committee and liaison reports. Does anybody have a report they'd like to bring?
I do. I just wanted you to know that I attended the homelessness committee meeting last Thursday night. And I also attended the Safe Routes to School meeting a couple weeks ago.
Okay, any other member of the council? Anything? Well, did you want to say anything about the fire board meeting, or you want to leave that to me? I want to leave that to you. Okay, we had the fire board, Ross Valley Fire Board meeting last night, and it was a challenging meeting because, as we previously reported, there was a request to use reserves. Ross's share of those reserves would be $186,000. And that reserve money, is either to be used for the JPA operations, or, if it's excessive, it doesn't need to be. It could be, offsetting the operating expenses. Beach and I both voted against that, and that was a 2 against the other member jurisdictions. And the reason we did is because we didn't believe that it was appropriate. The JPA that we all signed specifically states, it's clear as day, that the members own the fire stations and are required to maintain and repair them. So it's just completely contrary to what the JPA states. And that was the reason for it. There's been a proposal, and they need unanimous consent in order to use those reserve funding. And particularly at the amount they are, because they're about 6%. So of the operating budget, the JPA does contemplate that under 3%, they don't need unanimous, they could do a majority. However, that would still violate the provision in the JPA agreement that specifically says the member agencies are responsible to maintain and repair their fire stations. So I just wanted to let you know about that. It's possible the direction to staff was to bring back some further vote to request the reserve funding under the majority amount, so that would be 2.9999%. And the proposal was that they would do that multiple times so that they could end run the unanimous provision, which, again, I don't, even doing it that way violates the spirit, but also contradicts the provision that says that they cannot use reserves for that purpose. So at any rate, this probably will continue to be something we'll update you about another time. Anybody else have any other items?
Should we put that issue on our agenda for?
We could decide to agendize it, but maybe what we should do is, why don't we bring it up at the end when we discuss future agenda items?
Okay.
We won't be discussing it, but we can certainly decide to agendize it. The next item is staff and community reports, beginning with the town manager report.
Good evening, Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, council members, town attorney. I've got a couple of updates for you. Juneteenth is a federal holiday in the United States, commemorating the emancipation of enslaved African Americans, deriving its name from the combining June and 19th. It is celebrated on the anniversary of an order that was issued by Major General Gordon Granger on June 19th, 1865, proclaiming freedom for slaves in Texas. The day was first recognized as a federal holiday just this past year in 2021 and will be observed in Ross for the first time this coming Monday, June 19th. So that is a holiday here in the town of Ross. This was adopted by the council last summer. Thank you to the town council for your participation in your special meeting on May 31st. And that was the council certified the final environmental impact report for the 6th cycle housing element and adopted that housing element document. The final documents were uploaded onto the town's website, and they've been sent up to Sacramento for review by staff of HCD, the state department that is responsible for reviewing such things. This department has 60 days to conduct their review and to send comments back to the town, if any. Ultimately, we need to obtain certification from that state department. Tomorrow is Planning and Building Director Rebecca Markwick's last day in Ross. We wish her the very best in her future endeavors. We're looking forward to Ross's 4th of July celebration on, you guessed it, Tuesday, July 4th, starting at approximately 11:30 a.m. The parade kicks off the event, which starts in College of Marin, followed by a picnic on the Ross Common. To join the parade, please contact Ross Recreation. Just to give you an idea of the types of things that you'll see or be a part of in the parade, we're going to have Uncle Sam, fire truck, council members, Boy Scouts, lacrosse, Little League, military vehicles provided by Marin Sanitary, a restored K5 Blazer. I'm not sure what that is, but I'm sure it's really exciting. The Cedars. And then on Ross Common, where the festivities should last until about 2 p.m., there will be the Historical Society with old photos of Ross, a band, Alvin Johnson, fantastic last name, Ross Police Officers Association giving away burgers, Forest Fire Barbecue, and the Bubble Lady. Still working on dogs in the parade. And a Moms Demand Action group who have indicated they might also want to be in the parade. And then still trying to find a game leader, which has been successful in the past for youth to participate in. Our recreation manager, Maureen Borthwick, returns from her leave on Monday, June 26th. I want to thank Mike Langford for so ably serving the town of Ross as interim recreation manager for these past 3 months. You'll hear more from Mike later on in this agenda. And then finally, a flood control zone 9 advisory board special meeting was held last night here in the town council chambers. I'm going to turn it over to Public Works Director Rich Simonich to provide a summary of that meeting. And while he's at it, Rich is also going to provide a status of the West Ross undergrounding project. Take it away.
Thank you, Krista, and Mayor and council members, Rich Simonich, Public Works Director. So last night, there was a Flood Zone 9 Advisory Board special meeting held. It was for approval of their baseline budget. It was supposed to be on the Flood Zone 9 meeting that was supposed to be held a month ago. That was canceled because they didn't have a quorum. So the purpose of the meeting last night was again to the advisory board to provide a recommendation to the Board of Supervisors to approve the Flood Zone 9 budget. So a little bit about their baseline budget just covers basic expenditures for the coming fiscal year. It does not cover major construction project expenses. Those are require separate advisory board actions and board of supervisors actions. So this particular budget covers maintenance, miscellaneous expenses, utility costs, professional services, and that sort of thing. So they did review one major construction item that was approved earlier in the fiscal year, and that's the construction of the Sunnyside Detention Basin that was completed just before the storms hit earlier this year. So not much to report on it. The Flood Zone Advisory Board did approve the baseline budget. So there is an additional or an actual Flood Zone 9 meeting on June 26 in San Anselmo, and that'll have a much broader agenda for the public to review and to comment on. So that concludes my report for the Flood Zone 9 Advisory Board. Moving on to the West Ross Underground Utility District progress. So we are making good progress on it. We have monthly meetings with the district engineer and PG&E and Comcast and AT&T. They are all active players and coming to the meetings, and we are proceeding with the final design documents. We've established locations of transformers, above ground transformers for PG&E, utility boxes for Comcast and AT&T. So we're getting down to the fine elements of the joint trench design. And we do have a council item coming up probably in August where we have a minor adjustment of the district boundary that's required on Thomas Court. We determined that the easiest way to provide services within the district to a couple of the properties along Lagunitas would be to allow a couple properties from Thomas Court to enter the district. That would keep the undergrounding in the public right-of-way. Otherwise, we would have had to acquire some easements in the backyards of these properties, and that would have added additional time and probably expense to get that resolved. So these residents on Thomas Court are on board with joining the district. And again, that'll be a council item coming up in August. Relatively simple boundary adjustment, but we'll have a good staff report to provide you with that sort of information. So we are looking at probably a September or October completion of the drawings, and hopefully we can go out to bid before the end of this year. And then following the receival of those bids, we'll finalize the engineering report and develop the actual assessment costs to the residents of the district for review, and then we'll go right to the election where they vote whether to have the district or not. It's probably, I would say, early 2024, probably January or so. So more updates on that as we get closer to those dates. And that concludes my report for the undergrounding district as well.
Thank you, Rich. Yes.
Rich, are you going to plan to attend the June 26th Flood Zone 9 meeting?
Yes, I will be there.
Thank you.
Next item is Ross Property Owners Association. Is there anybody here to give the report? Please. Yes. Since we're recording it, people can't hear unless they speak into the microwave. I've done this before. Microphone.
Hello, town council members. Nice to see you in person. Quick report from RPOA. The hanging flowers are up and thriving, so hopefully you're all enjoying those downtown. We had our Live on the Commons event on May 12th, which was an overwhelming success. We had about 350 people attend, and it was nice to see all walks of the town attending and enjoying the music and the actual beautiful weather we had back then. The next Live on the Commons, August 25th, so mark your calendars when everyone's back from summer break. We're ordering new holiday garlands for the town bridges and upgrading the Christmas decorations, so thank you for your support on that. On the post office upgrades, hopefully everyone's enjoying the new table. We're trying to get a second table in there if Anna will let us, but we're slowly working on her. But hopefully everyone's sorting their mail and enjoying the fact we have a table in there. We're also putting up a new, beautiful new canvas, that Gary Scales photo that he's supporting by, it's a beautiful photo he took, and he's also going to pay for the installation. So look for that. And then on the new projects front, we're talking with the town staff about the historical story walks, where we're trying to put placards in front of historical landmarks in town. And we're working on, for the tennis courts, some shade structures to provide, shade on the tennis courts. And the last one, which is still very preliminary, is looking at ways of allowing for dogs to run on the on the park next to the post office. So more to come on that.
Thank you very much. And if anybody from Ross Property Owners wants to walk in the parade, please make sure they know they're welcome.
Yes, we're working on that. I think Jeff might represent us.
Great.
Thank you.
All right, next item is the consent agenda. Would any member of council wish to pull an item off the consent?
Yes, item 11H for a brief discussion.
Okay, and then before we consider a motion, why don't I go to members of the public? Separate from item 11H, would any member of the public wish to pull an item off the consent agenda for discussion or comment? Okay, seeing none, is there a motion with respect to the items on the consent agenda besides H?
So moved.
Thank you. Passes.
Councilmember Millen? Aye. Councilmember Kircher?
Aye.
Councilmember Robbins?
Aye.
Mayor Breckus?
Aye.
Councilmember Cool?
Aye.
All right, with a vote of 5, unanimously passes.
Okay, separate consideration of LH. Town Council consideration of adoption of resolution number 2317, setting the dates and times for the regular town council meeting and annual special council meeting for 2024. Do you want to speak on that?
Yes, please. I noted that the April date in 2024 is proposed to be on April 4th. The March election, I believe, will be on March 5th, 30 days prior to that date. If I recall correctly, Beach and Elizabeth and I were all sworn in at the April meeting, so our 4-year terms expire. Well, I'm not sure when they expire, but I just want to make sure that if we're not able to seat the new members, and then I'm running for reelection, and presuming I'll be reelected, I don't want to be presumptuous, but if I am, that I'll be seated as well in the May meeting, or how would that work?
So is the question that if we had 2 new members coming on at that time, then would they get sworn on April 4th? Is that the question?
Yeah, could they be, and do they need to be? Because if we can't, if the election isn't certified, I would think it would have to go to the next meeting.
Oh, that's a good point. I don't know how long it takes for the election to be certified.
Takes, I believe it takes 30 days that the supervisor of elections, I forget what her title is, has 30 days to certify the results of an election. And then the town is required, I believe, to swear in the new members within 30 days thereafter. So I think the last time we did it, it was 60 days after the date of the election that we were sworn in. Mm-hmm.
But then do the prior council members continue until the registrar certifies?
Correct.
Yes.
So that means if there's no certification, we would keep going in April.
Well, I've never heard of there not being a certification, but
Well, I'm sorry, what is the date of the election?
it's first Tuesday in March.
I believe that would be March 5th. So exactly 30 days after that would be April 4th, I believe.
And that's when, that's the time by which the registrar of Voters, I think that's the right name, has to certify the results of the election. Then I believe the entity, us, is required to install the newly elected members within 30 days of the date of certification, which would be early May.
All right, I mean, that's fine, as long as that's all in accord with the election laws, and it sounds that it is, so.
I think it is, but do you know?
The dates I don't know as well as you do, because I've never run for office, but you do serve until the successor has been certified. So it's either 30 days or at the next regular meeting. I forget what the Virginia Election Code says. Either way, what's happened in the past, if a city's running up against that time frame, they'll just hold a special meeting in between those two meeting dates if they have to seat a council member based on that time frame. So, long story short, there's not a vacancy. There's no vacancy that happens in between those two periods of time. And usually if you have meetings within 30 days, one of your regular meetings are going to seat the new council member.
So if the certification happens on April 4th, the next regular meeting is that evening, do we have the discretion to continue this to the May meeting?
No,
I mean, it wouldn't
once
give
they're
us-
certified, we have to take action within a certain amount of time. It's not that, it's either at the next regular meeting, I don't have the statute in front of me. It's either at the next regular meeting or within 30 days. Or no
That
later
could
than.
put us towards May, or it could mean a special meeting. I'll open that item up for public comment. Does anyone want to be heard on 11H? I didn't think anyone wanted to be heard on 11H. So do we have a motion with respect to 11H?
I move to approve 11H.
Second?
Councilmember McMillan? Councilmember Kircher?
Aye.
Councilmember Robbins?
Aye.
Mayor Breckus?
Aye.
Councilmember Cool?
Aye.
All right, with a vote of 5, the motion passes.
Next item is 12A, One Garden Road Design. Oh, no, I did. Yeah. One Garden Road Design Review Permit and Town Council consideration of Resolution 2311, and our staff report.
Good evening, Mayor Breckus. Congratulations, council members. The applicant at One Garden Road is requesting approval for design review. The project is proposing minor additions and alterations, which include a 200 square foot kitchen addition and a 115 square foot dining room addition for a total of 325 square foot of new floor area to the existing single family residence, as well as demolishing one of 4 chimneys on the east elevation and removing a skylight. That's it.
Thank you. So this item is under Planning Projects Part 1, where we normally ask if you want to speak, you can, but you don't have to. And if somebody from the public speaks and then you want rebuttal time after that, you're certainly welcome to then do that. Is there a presentation on behalf of this item? Thank you. Does anybody, member of the council, have a question, or can I open up a public comment? Okay, can you see if anybody from the public wishes to speak?
There are no raised hands online.
Do we have a motion?
Yeah, I will make a motion to adopt resolution number 2311.
A second.
Councilmember McMillan?
Aye.
Councilmember Kircher?
Aye.
Councilmember Robbins?
Aye.
Mayor Breckus?
Aye.
Councilmember Cool?
Aye.
All right, with a vote of 5, the motion passes.
All right, thank you. Next item is 12B, 7 Willow Road, Design Review, Hillside Lot Permit, Variance, and consideration of Resolution 2313. Do we have a staff report?
I believe that I've got to recuse myself because I live within 500 feet of that property, so I will do so.
Very well. Rich, do you want to go in here?
Oh, okay. That would be more appropriate.
Okay, so do you have a staff report for us?
Yes, Mayor. The applicant at 7 Willow Hill is requesting approval of design review, a hillside lot permit, and a variance. The project is requesting new landscape structures, including a new spa, a new pool equipment, a stone patio, an outdoor kitchen, and replacement of the existing retaining walls with stone walls. A variance is requested to allow for the construction of new landscape structures within the side yard and east and rear side yard setback. Thank you.
Thank you. Does any member of the council have any questions to staff? So again, with the part 1 placement on the agenda, the same rules apply. Let us know if you wish to present, but otherwise we can let you speak in rebuttal if you would like. Okay. So is any member of the public wish to be heard on this item?
There are no raised hands online.
Bring it back to the council.
I move to approve Resolution 2313.
Second.
Councilmember McMillan? Aye. Councilmember Kircher?
Aye.
Councilmember Robbins?
Aye.
Mayor Breckus?
Aye.
With a vote of 4, the motion passes.
Okay, thank you. Let me get our. Next is item number 13. Town Council to provide staff direction regarding Kids Club Extended Care Program. And do we have a staff report?
There we go. Good evening, Madam Mayor, City Council, as my technician helps me out here. My name is Mike Langford, and it has been my privilege to have served you as your interim recreation manager for the past 3 months. Before beginning my presentation this evening, I would like to turn that off. It's embarrassing. My apologies for that. It's one of those tile things that when you, my wallet wanted to know where my phone was. So there we go. I would like to thank City Manager Krista Johnson and Town Clerk Administrative Manager Cindy Martell and the rest of the town staff for welcoming me and helping me get up to speed rapidly. I would especially like to thank Mallory Barron, Janine Wagner, Kiera Ortiz, Laura Leidecker, and of course Maureen Borthwick from the Recreation Department for all their hard work and for making me feel welcome. This evening, I'm here to talk to you about the option of continuing Kids Club pilot program for the fall 2023 semester. The Recreation Department has been before you multiple times regarding Kids Club, and at the March 9th meeting, the council gave direction to the department not to continue Kids Club due to low enrollment and to focus on after-school enrichment programs. Since that time, the town has received numerous communications from parents requesting that the program be reinstated for the 23-24 school year. As a result, I am before you this evening. Almost there. There we go. All right. So here's a brief program history. I'm not going to go into it too much because we're probably all very familiar with it since we were just here. To assist the council in making their decisions, staff has revised the numbers from the March 9th meeting to reflect actual registrations, attendance, revenues, and expenses for the pilot program. There were 19 children enrolled. The last registration was taken on January 23rd. There are 2 children of Ross teachers, and those receive a 20% discount. The fees collected for the for the 6-month program were $34,874. 3 children registered for 5 days a week, 3 children registered for 3 days a week, 8 children registered for 2 days a week, and 3 children registered for 1 day a week. Average attendance was projected to be 12 children per day. However, actual attendance was only 7 per day, sometimes much lower. For the 6-month pilot program, revised expenses come to $433 per day for a total of $42,414. Not included are administrative expenses such as payroll, IT, insurance, and legal. This year, the January through June pilot program ran a loss of $7,540. Should council decide to continue the Kids Club program, staff has created a fee schedule that only charges participants for the hours that they are in the program using a base fee of $15.50 per hour and rewards multiple day registration by offering discounts of up to 10%. Staff has made a few procedural changes, and we have incorporated parents' suggestions. These changes include the program will start the first day of school. Sometimes it did not start the first day of school. Kindergarten short days at the beginning of the school year will also be included. This will add an extra hour of childcare for those needing it in the first month of school. Participants may sign up for any combination of days of the week for the entire session. This is kind of a cafeteria style where someone could pick a Monday and a Tuesday, a Monday and a Thursday, Wednesday and Thursday, whatever works best for their schedule. Drop-ins will be allowed with a 2 days minimum notice, and the drop-ins would pay a flat fee per day. The fee is approximately $5 more than the regular fee for the day. The fees will, of course, vary depending on the length of the day and the grade of the child. Minimum enrollment per day will be 4, and we reserve the right to charge a late fee of $5 per minute for late pickup, but this will only be in egregious situations where our generosity has been abused. We're requesting a $500 non-refundable commitment deposit due by July 14th, with final payment to be made no later than July 28th. The town has the right to cancel the program if registrations do not come in as currently committed. However, if the program is canceled, registered participants will be fully refunded. It is important to note right now that there are over 20 participants have expressed interest in enrolling in the program. Should the Kids Club resume, the classroom will not be available. The recreation classroom that's located next to the Recreation Department office would not be available for enrichment classes. However, David Rice from Ross School has committed to providing 1 room for kindergarten enrichment classes immediately after the kindergarten release time, a minimum of 3 classrooms available every day at 2:25, and additional classrooms available starting at 3:10. So thank you very much, Mr. Rice. Also, the projected enrollment in enrichment should Kids Club resume, projected enrollment in enrichment programs is expected to decrease as some children will solely be enrolled in Kids Club and not decide to enroll in enrichment programs. This number is very difficult to gauge because it will just depend on the parents' interest and the kids' interest in the programs. Also, if classroom space is not available or enrollment does not meet the minimums set by instructors, the programs will need to be canceled. So here's where we come to the options that we bring to you. Option number 1 is to direct staff not to run the Kids Club and focus solely on enrichment programs. If this is done, programs will start as soon after class dismissal as possible, and the recreation classroom will be available immediately after school for enrichment programs. The enrichment programs will run for a similar time to what Kids Club would to cover to the best of the department's ability. Ross Recreation staff will escort students to their enrichment classes if they are enrolled in the class immediately after school, or if they are enrolled in 2 classes back-to-back, starting with the class immediately after school. Fall enrichment program revenues would be projected to be $135,000 of direct expense, and expenditures of $100,000. Option number 2 is to direct staff to operate the Kids Club pilot program as previously described. Given current enrollment commitments and fees, Kids Club would break even or better. Enrichment classes will be run as above. However, as stated earlier, the recreation room would not be available for these enrichment classes. Enrichment program revenue will decrease as some of the kids will solely be in Kids Club. Kindergartners not enrolled in Kids Club will be escorted to the classes starting immediately after school. Kids Club enrollees will be escorted to and from each enrichment class. At this point, I would like to thank Superintendent David Rice and parent Madeline Honeywell Wigington for their cooperation getting the word out to parents and providing input for this presentation. Thank you very much, and I am happy to answer any questions you may have.
Does any member have a question?
So thank you very much. So my understanding has been that previously, the real problem has been that we could offer, because Ross Rec only has one room at Ross School, we could offer either Kids Club or enrichment programs, and we couldn't do both right when the kindergartners were dismissed. And so now with David Rice committing to providing a room for us, that's no longer a bottleneck, right? I mean, everything, it's a win for everyone. The enrichment programs can continue and Kids Club can be resumed. Is that correct?
That is correct. I really can't speak to what happened in the past, as I wasn't here, and also Maureen wasn't here. But I understand sometimes a room was difficult to get, but it doesn't seem like we have that issue anymore. And again, I want to thank David for cooperating and making the rooms available.
Thank you.
Just a clarifying question. Could you go back to the slide that had the various rooms that were available? I'm just,
I didn't have a slide that had rooms available.
maybe it was the option of continuing versus the option of not continuing. I guess my question is the offer from the school more than one room for enrichment?
Yes. Now I understand. Here we go. Yeah, so the school is now offering one room available for kindergarten enrichment programs immediately after kindergarten release time. And then a minimum of 3 classrooms available every day at 2:25.
Okay.
And then there are more classrooms available at 3:10, and this would be for the enrichment programs. If we run the Kids Club program, it would be run in the Kids Club room as it previously was.
Okay. I guess I'm just wondering what additional classrooms means. Is that 1? Is that 5? Is the school flexible in terms of
Yes.
number?
Yes, to my understanding, they are flexible. As per the MOU, I believe it is, the MOU says 4 classrooms, a minimum of 4, if available.
Okay. And I think you also mentioned that there needed to be a minimum of 4 kids enrolled per day for Kids Club.
Correct.
And are we fairly certain that that's going to happen?
The numbers that I have right now are right on that border. The parents that have said that they would be interested in Kids Club have given me, some have said, I want 5 days. Some have said, I only need 3 days. Some have said, I don't know, I will need 1 to 5 days. Some of this will depend on the enrichment programs that are going to be offered. And our plan is to release those very soon so that parents can look at all the enrichment programs before having to make a decision whether to join Kids Club or not.
My question is, are you concerned that notwithstanding the expression of interest by 20 participants, that given the summer months, people away, parents of young kids being busy, that we may not get the follow through on signing up by the 14th and then a final payment by the 28th?
I can't speak for the parents, but I do know that they've all been very positive and said that they would like to do this program. So we will be in touch with them and getting an answer from them as soon as we have everything in place for that. We are doing the deposit because what we do not want to happen, and I don't think this will happen, but you need to be careful, is people sign up for the program and then they decide that they don't want to do it. when we've already committed to staff and we've committed to a budget of expenditures that we have to expend.
Thank you. And would Superintendent Rice like to speak about this item?
Congratulations, by the way.
Thank you.
I had prepared a few remarks, but Mike, you answered most of them already, so thank you. Rooms won't be a problem from the school. So one of the things we talked about was when kindergarten does get out, and for the first month, they do release earlier than the rest of the school, we could have that room available immediately. So that would leave the kids club and the kindergarten room for that immediate time. And then the rest of the school starts to get released on a stagger from there. So middle school rolls into electives at 2:25. So that frees up about half of the rooms in the middle school. And so like this year, they ran Legos out of the middle school. And then as those times continue to roll, more and more classrooms become available. So Mike is correct. The MOU does state that we have to provide a minimum of 4, but can provide as many as are needed. My desire in all of this is to partner with the town and work together. Some of the things I had prepared to say was with you now, Mayor Breckus and Councilmember Cool, when you came over to the school to observe the 7th graders with their housing element, that's the type of relationship I'd like to see the town and the school having more of. Chief Potter comes over on a regular basis and he helps out with judging school presentations and performances and those types of things. And we'd like to invite all of you to come to more of the school presentations and open up to the public in more of that way. So I think anything we can do as a community to build the relationship would be a step in the right direction. And I do believe that commitment to Kids Club is one of those steps. If I could request that.
Thank you so much.
Anything direct you'd like to know from me?
Does anybody have questions?
No, just thank you, because this makes it possible to move ahead, I think. Thank you so much.
I totally agree with you that I see this as a win-win for the town and the school.
Yes, I want to say thank you because I feel like there wasn't always that collaboration at times, and it's, a really can-do attitude that you're giving to this program. So just very much appreciate it.
Thank you. It comes from your table as well. So when I reach out to the members at this table, I get the same response.
That's great. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Why don't we open it up to members of the public? Would anybody like to be heard on this item? Would anybody, if you would come up and give your name, and then you have 3 minutes. And I believe we have somebody. Okay. And do you give a 1 more minute warning? Okay, thank you.
I'll be quick. I'm Madeline Wigginton. I spoke to you all a month or so ago about this. So I'm really just here to express my thanks to everyone who did collaborate on this. I think that was the biggest change. So Mike, absolutely thank you for hearing everything and making, there's small tweaks, but they're going to make, I think, a really big change. Like hearing that there's going to be Kids Club for kindergartners that first month, I cannot tell you what that scramble was like, finding care that first month. So really just an expression of gratitude to council members, to Mike, to Krista, and certainly to David Rice for listening and being willing to make changes. I was going to speak to some of the changes that have been made, but I don't think it's necessary. I think everyone understands the value of what's occurred, and the biggest thing is the collaboration, so thank you. That's all.
Thank you so much also for your energy on this issue and work. Yes, it is. Yes.
Hi, Town Council, Mayor, Simon Etherington. I'm basically just echoing what Madeline had to say, but I do want to thank Superintendent Rice for his help. I think I personally see, the Ross School as kind of one of the real gems of Ross, and I think Kids Care is sort of an extension of that. As mostly as a reminder, parents with young kids are, I think, probably slightly underrepresented in terms of their voice sometimes, because they are just often spread too thin. And I do think, giving Kids Club a chance to start at the beginning of a year where parents can kind of lay out their aftercare plans. I think it really gives Kids Club a chance to succeed, where I think there was a lot of concern it might fail. So I appreciate you taking the time again in your busy schedule to reconsider this item. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else that wants to speak?
There are no raised hands online.
Okay, I'll bring it back to council. Is there anybody that wants to discuss this item? I think my biggest concern is that if we put too short of a date on it and we're asking people to sign up in July and it feels really soon, and then pay at the end of July, and we don't give any kind of.
Can I give a comment to help inform you on that one? As a
I'll
parent?
open it up just.
I'm sorry, I
Sure.
meant to say something. I would say as a parent, the biggest thing is to be able to build your schedule at the same time the rec stuff comes out, the enrichment programs. I think it's a pretty hot scramble to enroll for those programs usually. I don't know when they were released last year, but I know they go quick. So I think it's okay as long as it's like in the same time frame as the enrichment programs. That's probably the most important thing. People's needs change, and I think certainly for kindergarten parents, they don't actually foresee their needs until they're in it, if they're first timers. But I think, yeah, I think it's okay as long as it's alongside, because you're looking at your calendar and you're sort of building everything together. That's my opinion as a parent.
Thank you. Okay, back to the council. So that's my biggest concern, is just that, you know, we've already heard this, is this the fourth time? I mean, do we want to just?
It seems like the staff needs to plan though, and they need some certainty and some dates in order to get everyone lined up. Maybe you have an opinion about that.
Well, and school starts in mid-August, so July seems soon, but it's like 4 weeks before school starts.
Yeah,
So-
my only concern was just that if some people don't make the deadline, I mean, I think if we've got 20 families, well, it'll build from there. But, you know, if we miss the deadline, then we shut down the program. I think we'll hear from all the same people we did before, and we could have problems.
I mean, it
So-
feels like there's a real critical mass this time, and it seems like we've solved the problem of being able to have enrichment along with Kids Club. And I think that most of the people who are interested have been working together with Madeline, you know, for the last few months. So I feel like they're sort of poised and ready to go. So I think we should go with it and expect that it will work this time.
Bill, do you have anything to add? What are your thoughts?
Well, overall, it's a good program. I'd like to see it go ahead. I'm not sure about the timing. I think that is a concern, that parents have a chance to compare Kids Club with the enrichment programs. And I'm not clear as to whether that will all dovetail in a way that will allow parents to make the kind of decision they want to make or they need to make.
Thank you. What about you, Beach? Do you have a further thought on it?
Well, let me ask a question of Mike. The enrollment opens on July 10th. Does that work? Right?
That is correct, yes. As I said, we're planning on having all of our enrichment opportunities out very soon. We've been negotiating with various contractors to try to build a very robust program for the fall, and it will open on July 10th. And so both.
When will it close?
It closes when the class is full.
Okay, that's
or the
what I
class
thought.
starts for the enrichment. So the parents will have the information on the enrichment programs before the end of June, and registration will start for those programs on July 10th.
And then they're expected to put 500 down by the 14th. So it comes out, so they have 1 week of 5 days to enroll. Is that correct?
For the deposit by the 14th, yes, and that's to give us an idea of enrollment numbers.
So if you don't have, how many people enroll by the 14th?
It's difficult to give an exact number because for finances, the kindergartners, it is more expensive since they're there an hour earlier. So the more kindergartners we have, the more revenue there is to offset the expenses versus the first through third graders. And again, the days are different depending on release times.
And do you just send emails out to past Ross Rec participant families, or is there going to be any effort to send it out to kindergarten families that may not have previously participated?
Actually, with the cooperation of the school, we were able to send out an email to all incoming kindergarten parents, and we received a great response from that. And we would continue to do that because I know, I can pretty much guess that there's going to be additional parents that are going to be enrolling their kids in kindergarten that we didn't hear from yet. So that's the best method, is to contact them directly, because most people in Ross don't have incoming kindergarteners.
Okay, thank you. Well, if there was a motion to extend it so that we could give additional time, I would be supportive, but what is there a motion?
It's
for-
just direction tonight, so.
Oh, I'm sorry, just direction.
Well, my direction is we should go forward with it, and I think the dates seem okay. I mean, when I was a parent enrolling my kids in Ross Rec, you know, I didn't need 4 days or 5 days. You know, the day the enrollment started was the day I enrolled everybody and everything. So you know, I think that's July 10 is when everything's going to get enrolled, and then there's several days later to have the deadline for the kids club. So I mean, I think you've done a great job trying to make this work, and with the help of Superintendent David Rice, I think this could, you know, finally be a go. And I also think that if the first year we don't have quite as much revenue as expenses, I think I would be willing to float it a little, you know, longer, because again, to me, the biggest problem was having only kids club or only enrichment. And with the superintendent's help, we have both now.
Bill?
Well, I'm not sure that we have that many options. If staff needs to know by a certain date how many people they have so they can hire adequate people, I think we do have to keep a date that will allow them to do that. But I do have a concern that we will still have a shortfall here that we wouldn't have if we could have a later date. I don't know if we can address both these problems at the same time. I suppose where I come out is I would be also willing to support subsidizing this to some extent if that were necessary to keep it going. I mean, we won't really know until we do this whether it will work or not, and I definitely think we should do it.
Yes, Julie?
So if we get a critical mass on July 10th, and then more people want to sign up, they still can, right?
Definitely.
Okay, so it sounds to me like the parents are very organized and ready to pounce on this. So I'm not anticipating that there's going to be a shortfall by July 10th. So I think we should stick with that date. And I'm confident that we'll get enough people and it'll be a go. And I really want to thank Superintendent Rice for being so cooperative and kind of setting a new tone between the town and the school. And there are many opportunities for synergies, so we welcome that. Thank you.
And Beach.
I favor directing the staff to proceed as they have suggested.
Okay, so we have staff direction. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Great. Next item is 14. And I don't think I have to read the entire item, and so I won't.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. We're on 15, right?
14.
Oh, wait. Just a moment. I was all set to be Chief Potta. Hold on. Okay. Okay. Okay, try it again here. Thank you. So the item before you tonight is the items before you tonight on this agenda item are related to our annual budget. This is our budget for the upcoming fiscal year ending '24. I'd like to thank the town council, our dedicated staff team, including our consulting accountant, Elizabeth Ford, who is available this evening on Zoom. I'd like to thank our staff team and Elizabeth for the considerable amount of work that you, as the town council, and our staff have put into the development of this fiscal year ending '24 budget. As background, the budget is the town's financial plan for the upcoming year and includes revenues and expenses related to town operations and capital improvements. It was developed based on the continuing objectives of providing high-quality services to the community in a fiscally responsible manner. The emphasis continues to be to sustain financial stability as we continue to support the town's 7 goals, which are right there, and also in your, you can actually find it on several walls in Town Hall and in our town staff offices. The overall budget for all of the town funds is $11.8 million for the upcoming fiscal year. This is an increase from $11.4 million in our fiscal year that is ending right now. The budget provides current services to town residents as well as new projects and programs that have been discussed by the town council during the course of the fiscal year, including the discussion of the capital improvement plan, the 5-year financial forecast, and this draft fiscal year ending '24 budget that was took place during your April 27th budget workshop. The budget message at the beginning of the budget document provides a summary of the overall budget, and it's located behind tab A in your budget binder. Attachment 1 to the staff report for tonight's agenda item lists the budget changes made to the draft budget document that the town council considered back on April 27th during your budget workshop. This year, the budget includes a new capital projects fund that will be used to pay for the town civic center campus modernization and rebuilding project. By the end of fiscal year '24, the town council will have set aside money in this savings account totaling $8.8 million by the end of the coming fiscal year. So I think that is an extraordinary achievement by the town council, and by savings and generating revenue by town staff and by the community. I think it's extraordinary, so I want to commend you on that. Since the council has already spent a considerable amount of time on the budget over these past few months, I am going to keep my comments brief. Our whole staff team is here to answer questions that the council or members of the public may have. And after your questions have been answered, the specific actions that are requested of the town council this evening are to, number 1, receive this very brief presentation on the fiscal year ending '24 budget, to adopt resolution number 2314, which approves that budget, sets the public safety parcel tax rate for the coming fiscal year, and amends the town's salary schedule. And then 3 is to adopt resolution number 2315, which sets the town's appropriation limit for fiscal year ending '24, which is required by state law. Thank you. Happy to take questions if you have them.
Does any member of the council have a question? I'll open it up to public. Does anybody wish to be heard on this item? Seeing none, we'll bring it back to council.
There's no one online either.
Thank you.
So I move we adopt resolution 2314.
Can we do 2315 at the same time? Is that?
Yes, can you both?
And 2315.
Do we have a second?
A second as to both.
Councilmember McMillan?
Aye.
Councilmember Kircher?
Aye.
Councilmember Robbins?
Aye.
Mayor Breckus?
Aye.
Councilmember Cool?
Aye.
With a vote of 5, both resolutions passed.
Thank you. We'll move on to 15, 1 and 2.
Thank you. This was the one I was thinking I was doing. So I'm channeling Chief Pata right now. He is on a much-deserved vacation. The item before you tonight is, you're going to be seeing this every year at this time of year, and it will always be on your regular agenda, which is, it's required to be. So Chief Pata did prepare some bullet points for me. No pun intended. But this is required by Assembly Bill 481, which was passed by the state of California and went into effect. It was passed on September 30th, 2021. And last year was the first year that the council had to follow its very lengthy requirements. And it is really all about the possession by the police department here in Ross. It's whether or not we possess military equipment, which we do not, and therefore we do not deploy military equipment. So what this does, it's a little complicated, but the department was required to prepare a policy, and it's policy 706, military equipment use. They were required to present this policy to the town council. They did that last year on June 16th. The town council reviewed it and voted to approve the policy by ordinance, which was ordinance 715. So you were required to review and approve that policy by ordinance, which you did. And then the state law requires that the council annually review it. And this is done by resolution. So you have to annually review your ordinance by resolution, and that's what you're doing tonight. It requires that the police department present an annual report regarding the use of military equipment in the previous year, 2022, which I'm doing right now. You're required to review the ordinance and vote on whether to renew it by resolution. I already said that the Ross Police Department does not possess any military equipment and thus did not deploy any last year. No other law enforcement jurisdiction deployed any military equipment in the town of Ross in 2022. As Mark Brown indicated earlier, we do have use of mutual aid. And so occasionally it could happen that a city could come to mutual aid and use military equipment, but that didn't happen last year. There was no use of military equipment in the town. The use of military equipment, there was no use of it, but if there was use of it, it would meet the standards authorized by the council in Ordinance 715 and Policy 706. We're requesting that you vote to renew the ordinance number 715. We've prepared the annual report, and the report is posted on the town's website for public review.
Thank you. Does anybody have a question? Can you see if any member of the public wants to be heard on this item? And I'm going to bet money that they don't. Okay. Bring it back to council. Is there a motion?
So I move to adopt resolution number 2322, renewing ordinance number 715.
Second.
Councilmember McMillan?
Aye.
Councilmember Kircher?
Aye.
Councilmember Robbins?
Aye.
Mayor Breckus?
Aye.
Councilmember Cool?
Aye.
With a vote of 5, the motion passes.
Next, we'll hear item number 16.
Yes, good evening. Oh, do you want to introduce it?
Yes, you can give the report.
Thank you. So good evening, Mayor and council members. On March 9th, 2023, the town council directed staff to prepare an ordinance for gate safety. Tonight, it is recommended that the town council introduce an ordinance amending Title 15 of the Ross Municipal Code regarding gate safety and schedule consideration of adoption of the ordinance on August 24th. The proposed ordinance will amend Title 15 of the Ross Municipal Code. These amendments are necessary to provide both administrative and programmatic regulations on gates. These changes are being proposed in response to multiple deaths involving certain rolling gates, most recently the death of a child in San Rafael in December of 2019. and the realization that the amendments to the existing building code are necessary to protect the community from any future injuries. The proposed amendments will include standards for inspections as well as gate safeguards to ensure gates are maintained in working order with a written certification by a gate inspector every 5 years. Tonight, town staff is recommending adding language in Title 15 pertaining to automatic vehicular gates. The addition of the language will provide a safety measure for gates taller than 48 inches. Thank you.
Does anybody have a question for staff? Can we open up for the public? If anyone wants to be heard, let us know. Seeing none?
No, I do have one.
Oh,
Sorry. Eric Quanbeck?
Yeah, hi, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yes, hi. I appreciate you letting me address everyone, and apologies I wasn't there in person. I had to come to New York for work tonight. But I just wanted to thank you. I'm Alex's father. I'm sure many of you know my story. Alex was killed at a private school in San Rafael in December of 19. You guys are the 6th city, I believe, including the county of Marin, to hear this ordinance. And so that means a lot to my wife and I. You know, why this is so important is after Alex's death, we learned that the gate that was built at Mark Day School was built without a permit. And so what we've done is really use this venue and avenue to educate the public about the danger these gates possess if they're not maintained properly and if they fall. The analogy I draw to people is very similar to how your closet door can come off of the rail in your home. These gates can come off the rail of the fence that they're attached to. And to give you a sense of the size and scope, you know, Alex was a first grader at Mark Day School. The gate that fell on him was 400 pounds, 30 feet long and 8 feet tall, because these gates are designed so that vehicles can go in and out of fenced areas. You know, since we started our non-for-profit in his honor, we've learned about 10 other fatalities across the country. And so we've partnered with the American Fence Association, which is the largest trade association in the country for fence professionals, to really push these measurements through. And to give you a sense of how simple this is, I know there's a lot of talk earlier about the cost of school programs, et cetera. These safety mechanisms that we're proposing for the installation of new gates and existing gates is about a $50 part. It's called a fall stop post, right, for basic nomenclature. And so we're really hoping that the town would consider adopting this, you know, given the numerous fatalities that we've come across and the work we're trying to do to improve safety, not only at schools, but in the broader communities that we live in.
thank you so much. Appreciate your efforts. Is there anybody else that wants to be heard? Okay, bring it back.
Can I ask that speaker some questions?
Sure.
We all are obviously concerned about the death which occurred, and we extend our sympathies. It's a horrible event that occurred. I'm a little concerned that we don't have a lot of information that I think we should have before we adopt this resolution. The reason being that it's going to, as I understand it, it's got two basic things. It's going to require that every gate have this device attached to it. First of all, can you describe what this device is?
So it's hard. I wish I could be there in person. So the simplest way to think about it is a gate rolls along a fence on two rails, right? Very similar to a closet door in your house. That gate can come untethered from those rails. And what you do is you add what's called a fall stop post. So think of that as another post, right? Fall stop post that sits in between the gate and the ground. And so what it does is when the gate comes untethered from the fence, which has happened numerous times in this country, it falls and hits two posts. And so the posts keep the gate from falling to the ground, which is why you see that language in there about it not falling more than 45 degrees. So literally it's like adding two posts into concrete that are right next to the gate itself. And so if the gate ever comes unhinged, untethered, whatever term you want to use, the gate falls into the two posts, stays upright. You may have broken fingers or a jammed hand, but it doesn't fall all the way to the ground at the speed of gravity, which is what happened to my son at Mark Day School.
Okay, well, these are posts that would be put at each end of the gate system?
Pretty much, yeah. Without getting too technical, that's right.
Okay. And you talk about gates coming unhinged. What are, or out of a track? What track are you talking about? One in the ground or one overhead?
So there's two rails. They're attached directly to the fence. So the gate slides, it rolls. A gate will have wheels, and there'll be a rail at the top of the fence and the bottom, and that gate will roll on those wheels. Again, I wish I had a better analogy for you. It's very similar to your closet door. You know how a closet door will roll and slide when it's attached to a wall? It's that same design.
And you say that there have been a number of incidents of this sort having occurred. What sort of numbers are you talking about?
So a boy in Mukilteo was killed at his synagogue. A 6-year-old boy suffered severe brain injury in Phoenix, Arizona. A 75-year-old woman was killed in Texas. A security guard was killed in Miami. A 3-year-old boy was killed at Cabrini Green, the housing projects in Chicago. A 7-year-old girl was killed in Tampa, Florida. Those are the cases we found. There's a very prominent case of a woman getting decapitated at Arches National Park. That drew national news when a gate swung open through her car on her honeymoon. And so those are about 10 fatalities we've come across. We've commissioned the Consumer Protection Safety Commission to study this, but you can imagine there's not a repository for all this data. You really have to find it on your own. The last thing I'll mention, there was a boy actually in Sacramento who was killed by a gate when his dad was driving a truck and his dad couldn't lift it off of him. And so his son died right in front of him. It weighed about 400 pounds, similar to the one that fell on Alex.
Okay, so there are about 10 incidents that you're aware of that nationally that involve the same mechanism as that which occurred in San Rafael. Is that right?
I would say the same design of the gate. Basically, a gate without a false stop post is the way to think about it.
And what you're asking is that we adopt rules that would apply to Ross that would require that every gate, every new gate, have these two upright
False stop posts. Yeah,
installed on them. Is that right?
that's correct.
And
So
then
basically,
what about if somebody? Will there be a requirement that this sort of thing be installed other than on new construction?
existing gates would be inspected. And I want to make sure the building official can keep me honest here. If they needed a false stop put in place, I don't want to pretend, let me be clear on one point. Some contractors actually put these in already, right? So I don't want to draw the analogy or make the impression to the council that these don't exist anywhere. It's really an element of following best practices on every gate within Ross is the way I would characterize it. And so for new gates,
there are in Ross?
I don't personally.
And
I don't know if someone does.
the other item in this legislation that you're asking us to pass is that everybody is required to have their gate inspected every 5 years. Is that right?
Yes.
And how have you drawn an estimate of how much it would cost each homeowner every 5 years to do that?
I mean, it's going to be a labor charge from a contractor. So my guess would be for an hour charge anywhere from $100 to $200. But again, I want to be careful with that because I'm clearly not in the profession.
Okay. Well, I'm not a professional either, but I am a lawyer who used to handle a lot of gate cases, and I never saw one of this sort, and that's why I'm asking you these questions. I'm a little concerned about requiring homeowners to pay this fee every 5 years, and all who construct new homes to have the expense of doing this. I wish we had more detailed information to satisfy me. I will tell you that I am going to vote in favor, but with some misgivings about this program, and with the thought that maybe it needs to be adjusted significantly. But this is a starting point. And I thank you for your help, and we hope you will extend my, and I'm sure I speak for all my colleagues when I say this, our sympathies to the family, because this is a horrible thing. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Does any other member of the council have anything else to say, or is there a motion?
I don't think we need a motion.
Yeah, it's a motion to approve the first, waive the reading and approve the first, let me pull up the.
Yeah, I'm in full support of this, and I would note that Belvedere, Larkspur, San Rafael, Tiburon, San Anselmo, and the county have all already proceeded with this, and I think this is a no-brainer.
I agree.
I agree as well, and I think there's not just a danger of a fatality, but other injuries. I mean, these gates sound like they really do need more regulation.
I am in support and agree as well. Okay, thank you. We'll move on to
Wait,
item number.
We need a motion to waive the first reading and introduce the ordinance.
I thought I asked for a motion and was told that we didn't need a motion.
No, we need a motion.
Oh. I was a little confused.
I will move to whatever Ben said.
Move to waive the first reading and adopt the ordinance, or motion to waive the reading and approve the first reading.
So moved.
Second.
And then we need a roll call vote.
Councilmember McMillan?
Aye.
Councilmember Kircher?
Aye.
Councilmember Robbins?
Aye.
Mayor Breckus?
Aye.
Councilmember Cool?
Aye.
All right, with a vote of 5, the motion passes.
Item number 17, which is concerning the Ross Facilities Master Plan.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Item number 17 on your agenda this evening is to review and adopt the Ross Facilities Master Plan and to provide direction to the town manager to proceed with further phased development of conceptual option B, including an implementation plan and funding strategies. As the town council knows far better than me, this project has been a long time in the making. While the existing facilities exude charm, there is much to be done in order to have public buildings that meet safety standards and allow for greater efficiencies in areas such as information technology systems, utilities, compliance with regulatory agencies and laws, and efficiencies in staffing. We have had the pleasure of working with the experienced KPA Group staff since November, and I am going to turn it over to Matt Evans, and his colleague Lisa Lim is also here, to make a brief presentation to the council and answer questions that you or members of the public may have on this item. Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, and council members. We are here tonight to present the draft Facilities Master Plan for consideration to adopt. Our presentation focuses on an overview of methodology and process and describes inclusions in the final draft master plan report. KPA has worked closely with the town staff throughout the course of the project, resulting in this final draft for your consideration. So the project kicked off in November 2022 with site investigations and verifications, town staff discussions and interviews, a review of town ordinances and existing documents, including site plans and parcel maps, the September 2016 historic resource evaluation, as well as the July 2020 Facility Replacement Program and Budget Study document. Documentation of site components continued throughout December, along with production of a draft space program and initial concept plans. In January, conceptual plans in the space program were refined, and KPA visited the newly constructed Cotati Police Department for operational and functional insight. KPA conducted a first update meeting to Town Council in February, presenting the program for space needs and concept options under consideration. Feedback and comments were incorporated into concepts soon afterward. March and April included finalization of the conceptual program, revisions to concepts, and preparation of draft cost estimates for each option. KPA provided a second update at the April 13th council meeting of revised concepts and estimated costs, along with specifics of each concept option. As requested by the council after the April meeting, together with the town of Ross, KPA planned and conducted an open house and guided tour event on May 22nd. Good community feedback was obtained and documented in the draft master plan report. So the facilities master plan contains an overview of the existing conditions at the town hall, the public safety and public works facilities in individual building condition checklists. KPA's checklist process involved rating of physical condition of various building elements on a 5-point scale, 1 being the lowest score and applied to components in critical condition, and 5 being the highest score and applied to components in excellent condition or newly installed. The diagram shows average scores obtained for each of the facilities, and as you can see, the Public Works building obtained the highest score of 3.1. Both the police and fire portions of the public safety facility scored 2.1, which highlights significant deteriorated conditions at the public safety facility. It is worth noting that over time, without remediation work, these scores will continue to worsen. Now we'll go into an overview of the 3 concepts that are included in the draft facilities master plan report. I'm going to go through these concepts quickly as a refresher of what each includes. Concept A is a single-story building, single building also, along with a new entrance drive at Lagunitas. The original facade of the public safety facility is maintained and reconstructed, and the site will allocate area for 9 housing units. This concept is the high range cost option, estimated between $23 and $26 million. Concept B is also a single 1-story building with the new entrance drive at Lagunitas. The original Spanish Revival architectural style can be applied to new construction. The site will also allocate an area for 9 housing units. This is the lower range cost option, estimated between $19 and $22 million. Concept C is the 2-story concept. The original entrance drive is maintained without incorporating a new entrance drive off Lagunitas. Town work efficiencies may be affected with town hall maintained as a separate building, and the original Spanish architectural style is maintained. This is the mid-range cost option, estimated between $21 and $24 million. So upon public and town council review and feedback, concept B stood out as the recommended concept for further implementation, design, and development. Concept B is the lowest cost option and addresses the necessary functional improvements desired by the town of Ross. The preferred architectural style, Spanish Revival, is graphically represented in this rendering. So the draft facilities master plan report is comprised of 5 sections. The executive summary provides an overview of the reasons for the project, conceptual solutions, and related cost summaries. The existing conditions section includes photo documentation of Ross facilities and the condition assessment checklist. Development opportunities for Kittle Park were considered and inspiration concepts included. The space program section provides the recommended space needs for various town spaces and departments. And concepts A, B, and C are illustrated in the conceptual design section with cost estimates for each concept to conclude the report. Upon council review and adoption of the town facilities master plan, the town will be able to proceed to develop an implementation plan to phase the improvements of the Civic Center and identify funding strategies for new construction. After project implementation is defined, the town's recommended next step will be to engage design professionals for further development of concept option B. That concludes my presentation. Can I answer any questions?
Does anybody have any questions?
I actually have a question for Krista. I'm just wondering, after we approve this, what in your mind, what are our next steps?
The thing that comes to mind for me is to make sure that we have adequate funding available for operations. And as your next item that's before you is critical, the existence of the public safety parcel tax is a critical source of funding. So when we know if that has been renewed by the Ross residents, I will feel more comfortable knowing that we have enough funding to provide operations. Or if we don't, how we're going to continue funding especially our public safety operations, and what kind of a facility the town will be able to afford. As I mentioned earlier in the budget item, the council has done a really good job of saving up. So just under $9 million. However, if you see concept B is just under $21 million, and that's in 2023 construction costs. So I see there being a bit of, it's not that much time, but a bit of time where we can focus on the funding aspect of it. I'd like to explore perhaps with our finance committee, a subcommittee of the council, start to look at what kind of financing options we might have if the council is interested in taking on debt, or I haven't been here that long, so I don't really know what the appetite of the council is for taking on debt. We have some different financing options. So I see the funding aspect as being very important. I would like to have that be a little more settled before we take on the cost of an architect.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Is there anybody?
Just have one other question. The report recommends, well, it says that there will be 40 parking spots. To me, that seems like a ton. And I'm not sure that if we adopt this report tonight, are we bound to have 40 parking spots?
Definitely not. So 40 parking spots is the maximum number that KPA felt would be available for the site to hold. So any number of parking spots could be determined in the final design, but up to 40 is what we think could fit.
I'd like to add on, if I may, some of the other things that one of our consultants' colleagues mentioned is enabling projects. So for example, part of this project would include undergrounding of the utilities along Sir Francis Drake. That's something that we can embark on and is actually in your CIP program, 5-year CIP program that you approved this evening in the budget. So that takes a significant amount of work. We also we'll start to do some more evaluation of our telecommunications facilities. We have facilities that exist, leases that exist. We have a lot of requests by telecommunication companies to add on, change. So we haven't been able to spend that much time on that. So that's another example of things that city staff can spend time on. We also have a very important housing element that we are going to be required as a town organization, as a town community, to do a lot of work. Every one of the conceptual plans before you this evening includes providing space for 9 units of housing. This project estimate does not include costs for construction. But if you recall, in your housing element document, we have a series of milestones that we need to be working towards to help facilitate the eventual construction of that. So those are a lot of things. And so that's an important part of the site. And also working with the paramedic authority, and there's a lot of moving parts. So we have plenty to do. And then when we're ready and when the council is ready, then we would start looking for an architect.
Thank you. Does anybody else have any other questions?
The plans that we've reviewed and we've seen projected here on the screen tonight include some figures for the square footage of areas that are devoted to different functions, administrative, et cetera. How confident are we that those square footage figures will be adequate for the intended purpose?
I'm confident because we have, and I certainly will hand it over to Matt to elaborate, but they do this kind of work. And all of our department manager, department head team worked very closely on the, what do you call it? The
Space program?
Exactly, the space program. So for example, Chief Pata worked very closely with our consultant team. And then I also met with them to make sure that we have adequate space, but we have a modest constrained site, and we're also constrained by our budget. So I spent time with the department head and the consultants and our planning director to make sure that it was adequate, but not elaborate. This is what we need.
Thank you.
And Matt, did you have?
No, I mean, Krista explained it very well. It's not over the top. It's definitely functional. You'll be very comfortable for the foreseeable future, 50 years at least. But it doesn't have, let's say an open multi-purpose room that doesn't have an intended use, things like that.
Thank you. Reach, did you have a question?
Yes, I just want to clarify because I'm not sure. Do some of the concepts call for aligning the exit onto Sir Francis Drake with the stoplight at
Laurel Grove?
Laurel Grove?
Yes, all
of
three.
them? Okay.
Yes.
Okay, with that, why don't we open up to members of the public? Is there any member of the public that wishes to be heard? And if you do, would you please come up? And you have 3 minutes.
Barbara calls, signal.
Hi, I'm Barbara Call, 8 Redwood Drive. I've been dreading this. Ooh, I've lost this. I've been dreading this facility master plan, thinking that it is way, way, way too expensive, and I wasn't going to get involved, but here I am. I'm not really aware. I'm not really sure that the town is aware of the expense of this whole project. I don't know. I went to the open house, and I did not see anything there that really required a demolition. I see perhaps some of these costs could be cut down tremendously, because I think there needs to be a cost benefit analysis. How does spending $22 to $25 million benefit the town? I mean, I don't see it. If you could cut the costs down quite a bit, which I think you could in some areas with a remodel. For instance, if you talk about spending $500,000 on the town hall, I mean, I don't see $500,000 here. I mean, perhaps a contractor needs to be consulted with regards to that. You end up spending $7 million more by having the entrance off of Lagunitas, including the paving, fencing, parking, landscaping. All of that is costing an extra $7 million. If you look at the figures, I went through the figures on the staff report. So I think that could be cut down. I'm not sure all of that is necessary. Why do you need 40 parking spaces? I don't get that. With regards to demolition and signage, you've got another $800,000 there that could be spent in just fixing up the areas. I mean, yeah, I looked at the pictures of the windows. The windows need to be replaced or repaired. I looked at the cracks in the plaster, that could be fixed. So I think this is a huge project, and I think it's going to be a lot of inconvenience. Not only is it going to cost a lot of money and put the town in debt, it's going to be very inconvenient. I'm not sure staff can handle it. I mean, I can see where you spend a lot of time on it, and I'm sure that the consultants and management feel it's a great plan, but I think you need to look at the numbers and see if there's some way to reduce the cost significantly so that it's not such a huge burden on the town. And I think the town people need to be more aware of what's going on. I couldn't be the only one in town who knows about this. I mean, but I look around, there aren't any people besides me here talking about it, and I don't want to see the town in debt. So I hope there's a way of looking at the figures and getting them reduced by, why does it have to come off Lagunitas and cost, so much more? That's $1 million more there. So cut the cost down somewhat, if you can. Or don't do it at all. I don't know. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Is anybody else wanting to speak? Is there anyone on Zoom?
There are no raised hands online.
Thank you. Bring it back to council. Does anybody have any comments?
I have a comment. This discussion reminds me of when we were trying to decide whether to redo Ross School or not. And we agonized and we ultimately decided that yes, in fact, we needed to redo a significant portion of the school. And as a result, the school has been a magnet for lots and lots of new residents moving here, and it's holding up really well. She left. I'm preaching to the choir. I feel like our facilities are in such deplorable condition. They were built in 1927. This is no way to treat any employee or to recruit any employee or retain any employee. And here we are approving these, lovely homes, and we live in this lovely community, and we're housing our staff in basically condemned structures. It's very unfair. So maybe there's some little areas to shave, but I think, this is going to be a big project. This should have been done 20 years ago, 25 years ago. And the longer we wait, the more it's going to cost. So I'm all for going forward.
Bill, do you have something to say?
Also, all in on going forward. I think we need to do this. When we get to the architectural phase, well, that will be the time when we can really drill down on some of these issues and see whether, if we need to, we can save some money here or there. But I'm satisfied with the plan we have so far. I think our consultants have done a great job. Thank you very much for what you've done. And I think we should move ahead, subject to, as our town manager said, seeing what the results of the election are. Certainly, if the public safety tax doesn't pass, and I expect it will, and I hope it will, but if it doesn't pass, then we have to re-examine this.
Elizabeth, do you have any comments?
I agree. We need reasonable facilities for town staff, and we don't have that right now. We have people in little silos all over the place, and either they are separated, or it's a trailer, or it's condemned. So I think it's important to move forward.
Well, among other things, we've already decided to close our fire station, which means if we don't do anything, we're going to have some empty garage space over there, and we can have a lot more parking, I guess, as a result of that, but that's not what I favor. Is the suggestion that we should pick one of the three alternatives tonight?
Sir, it's my recommendation is that you direct me to move forward with a phased implementation of concept B. So yes, that's the recommendation.
Okay. Well, I think we've got to do something, and I happen to think the concept B is the most favorable one. We will have disagreements as we move along and get further into the design phase. That's inevitable. But we've got to do it to get a first-class facility such as a town like Ross deserves.
I have nothing further to add. So with that, I think we've provided sufficient direction.
We have a motion, we will need a motion to review and adopt the facilities master plan and then provide direction on option B.
So I move we adopt the facilities master plan and that we provide direction to the town manager to proceed with further phase development of conceptual option B.
I'll second the motion.
Councilmember McMillan?
Aye.
Councilmember Kircher?
Aye.
Councilmember Robbins?
Aye.
Mayor Breckus?
Aye.
Councilmember Cool?
Aye.
With a vote of 5, the motion passes. Thank you.
We're on item 18 now.
Thank you, Mayor and council members. The action items before you this evening in this agenda item would enable an extension of the public safety parcel tax to be placed on the November 7th, 2023 ballot. For many years, the town has relied on the public safety parcel tax to support the operations of the town's police and fire departments. Unlike many jurisdictions, the town of Ross does not have a large sales tax base, hotel, motel taxes, utility users taxes, and instead relies mainly on property taxes, fees, and grants to provide services. In November 2016, the residents of Ross approved Measure K, which extended the public safety tax 8 years, expiring in June 30th, 2025, with annual cost of living adjustments. In the upcoming fiscal year, the parcel tax rate will be $1,201. Proceeds from the special tax are used solely for the purpose of providing public safety services, police and fire services, in the town of Ross. Currently, proceeds cover 20% of the cost to provide these police and fire services. And then 50% of the town's general fund annual expenses are for police and fire services. Every year, a 5-year financial forecast is presented to the council. The 5-year financial forecast states that the town's current level of services are fundable, I like that word, if the public safety parcel tax is renewed. However, if the public safety parcel tax expires without a replacement, the town would have to reduce expenditures by approximately $1 million per year, which would cause severe service level declines. On May 11th, 2023, the town council directed staff to bring back a resolution and an ordinance related to placing the public safety tax on the November 7th, 2023 election for the voters to decide on the measure. The ballot language is attached to the resolution, which is in your agenda packet. It's very similar to every ballot question that has been presented to the voters in the past handful of decades. And I'd be happy to read it for you here if the mayor would like, or not.
I don't think that's needed.
Okay, it is in your agenda packet. The ballot measure does require 2/3 voter approval in order to pass. So again, the items before you tonight are a And I did work very closely with a very informative man and attorney in our town attorney's firm who helped me every step of the way. So the item before you tonight is to adopt resolution number 2321, calling for a special municipal election regarding a special tax to be held on November 7th. This resolution requests that the Marin County Board of Supervisors consolidate with the special election conducted on that date as appropriate. The resolution requests election services of the County Elections Department and proposes adoption by the voters of ordinance number 723, which would authorize the levy of a special tax to finance public safety services and authorizing an increase in the appropriations limit for the town of Ross. Thank you.
Thank you. Does anybody have questions of staff? Let's open it up to the public. Is there anybody that wishes to be heard?
There are no raised hands online.
Seeing none, I'll bring it back to the council.
Second.
Councilmember McMillan?
Aye.
Councilmember Kircher?
Aye.
Councilmember Robbins?
Aye.
Mayor Breckus?
Aye.
Councilmember Cool?
Aye.
With a vote of 5, motion passes.
Thank you. We'll move on to item number 19, 3 Skyland Way. And I'll turn over to staff.
Yep. Good evening, Mayor and council members. The project site is located on Skyland Way, which is a small street off of Laurel Grove. The property is a large lot, meeting the 1 acre minimum lot size, and is relatively flat. The project is proposing demolition, design review, nonconformity permit, and a variance. The project proposes to demolish the existing buildings and structures on the property, including the 3-story residence, pool, and pool pavilion. The existing landscape and hardscape will also be demolished, except for the significant trees which are proposed to remain. The project proposes to construct a new single-family residence, 2 detached garages, and a new detached ADU, accessory dwelling unit. The proposed 6,033 square foot residence, 735 square foot garage, and 525 square foot garage exceed the allowable floor area for the zoning district. The current existing structures proposed for demolition total almost 15,000 square feet. This project is proposing a nonconformity permit to exceed the allowable floor area, which is 6,535 square feet. However, the floor area proposed of 7,293, that's the house and garages combined, is much less than what is existing out there. The new residence would be 29 feet and 3 inches tall and 2 stories. The ADU is not subject to design review. It will be reviewed ministerially. The 735 square foot detached garage is proposed in the side yard setback due to the site constraints and sits shy of 5 feet into the setback, about 20 feet from that property line, and that adjacent neighbor has provided a letter of support for the project. The second garage is 525 square feet, and it's proposed at the rear of the property, and it is compliant with the municipal code. The primary exterior materials include shake siding painted Benjamin Moore Rockport gray. Stone cladding is proposed for the lower portion of the home, the chimneys, and the rear left section of the home at the family room. Windows are proposed in metal and wood and either painted to match the siding or black. Doors are proposed in wood and painted Benjamin Moore Narragansett green. The roof is proposed in standing seam metal and shake. Prior to the ADR meeting, staff received 2 emails in support of the project. We have not received any public comments since sending out the notice for the council hearing. Tonight, staff is recommending that the council approve Resolution 2312, approving demolition, design review, nonconformity permit, and a variance for the property located at 3 Skyland Way.
Thank you. Does anybody have questions of staff? Okay, I'll open it up to the applicant, and you're welcome to give a presentation. You're also welcome to hold comments till rebuttal if people could speak, either one.
Just on my part, I'd like to say thank you to the council for hearing our project on such an action-packed night. My wife Hannah and I are pleased to be here and present the project. We appreciate all the time and are looking forward to moving to Ross. We currently live in Mill Valley. We've been there for about 8 years and really looking forward to making this move.
Good evening, Mayor and Town Council. My name is David Groningen. I'm part of the architectural team from Historical Concepts in Atlanta, and I'm joined with Andrew Kogar, who is our president as well. So give Rebecca a second.
I'm coming there, getting there. Yeah, if you want it. There we go.
All right, if we want to go to the next, if I can skip ahead
Yeah,
2
let me
slides, I think
get
you already
rid of
showed the perspective. So appreciate your time tonight. The goal for our project was to try to create a house that reduced the scale, better address the community, better address the street, and hopefully address the contextual significance of Ross, in particular the history. I think we got really excited about learning about some of the history from Juan Cooper and James Ross and kind of their heritage from the Northeast and from Scotland. The clients had a lot of, the Ensleys had a lot of imagery and inspiration from those as well. So I was excited to kind of tie that into kind of the local culture and vernacular. So this is an image of the existing site, and in the top left, you can see there's existing access easement, which is the only way to get into the lot from Skyline Way. And then in the back corner on the kind of northeast there is a secondary access easement with a shared alley to some of the neighbors. The orange shows the existing setbacks, and then in the dark orange, you can see where you have existing structures, whether the pool house, stairs, and slight walls that are within the setback. So there is some existing context for structures in those areas. And then there's also an access easement, and utility easement here on the north with the green fin. We can skip ahead to the next slide. This is our proposed site plan. In this case, what we really want to do is address the street, given that it's a limited access point, but we want to turn it in towards the center of the site with a more centralized motor court, drawing attention primarily to the house, which drove us to locating the garage on this side. I felt like that was the best place to kind of put that out of the primary sight line, I think, which was an important part of the design guidelines for Ross. As you can see here, this dark orange shows, I think it's about 4'8", which is the setback, the variance into the setback that we're requesting. And that was primarily driven by the non-conforming lot width. I think we're about 20 feet less, closer to 17 feet if we're being more exact, less than what is the conforming lot requirement for the width. But that was driven by the need and the desire to get vehicular access, primarily for access vans, delivery vans, things like that, to be able to turn around in the motor court. And we felt like that was also the best design approach in terms of keeping it out of the sight line from the road, as well as the neighbors to the south who wrote the letter of support. It keeps the roof line tucked under the existing trees and landscape and out of their primary sight line. From there, there's a motor court that addresses the front of the house, which is the primary kind of site through the filtered look of the trees. And then a big part of the site, of the project, was to generally flatten the site as much as we could, kind of to the center part, maintain the slope at the edges. But the family has extended family members with mobility concerns and challenges, so we wanted to make sure that this was accessible as possible to all of the family members. And then the U-shaped house opens up to a terrace in the back that opens up to the lawn, again, trying to preserve as much natural light, natural ventilation, and connection to the landscape as possible. We nestled the pool in between the house and the ADU, up against the screening buffer. We felt like that was the best place to kind of keep it out of sight for the neighbors as much as possible. And then we used the ADU and the detached garage in the back corner to help conceal that from public view along the alley to the northeast. We can skip to the next one. And then this just shows the diagram in terms of coverage. You can see where, I think 4 of you have been out to the site and probably saw the staking of the poles, but the dark, excuse me, the dark shading shows the proposed footprints and the light gray shows the existing house. So that's where you can see we tried to pull back the front elevation to give a little more breathing room from the street, and then really kind of carved out a big corner, or the center portion in the back there, again, to open up and break down the scale to better address the neighbors. We can go to the next one. These diagrams showed the existing house up top in the photos, and it's probably a little hard to see in this view, but we did show kind of the dashed outline, really just for scale, that showing that we're really trying to be a better neighbor, better address the scale and the massing concerns that are part of the design guidelines. So we're significantly smaller than the existing house, which is a big part of this. And then the secondary wings that extend towards the rear of the lot and are along the side property lines are stepped down to 1 story again, trying to break down the scale, tell a story of a generational home that might have been a historic home to Ross and then evolved with family additions and renovations over time. We can skip ahead, and this shows similar kind of comparisons for the rear elevation and then the kind of north-facing side elevation. And then these are really the elevations. Again, this gets into probably the architectural character. We're inspired by a lot of kind of colonial and shingle style architecture from the Northeast, but then picking up on some of the roof lines and proportions that we saw here in Ross, in the history of the area here, kind of the early wave of kind of that first Bay tradition. So, but tried to tuck in dormers with 1.5-story massing again, just trying to keep the scale down as best we could. So, and then we can skip ahead. We show the side elevations, materials. And then we get to the garage, this one. So this is where you can see on the request for the variance, there's an existing site wall there. And what we tried to do is push the building up as close to that as possible. And the area in the orange is the portion of the building that would project above the existing site wall. So again, we tried to minimize the ask as much as we could to work as best as possible with delivery access and daily use, given that the lot is a non-conforming width. We felt like this is the best way to minimize that and to really tuck that into the existing landscape in the site wall. To minimize the impact of the site, there's existing trees and there's slope uphill from here, and we wanted to minimize that disturbance. This allows us to hopefully maintain the existing site wall and then cut in underneath it so that we do not have to tear all that out or underpin or shore that area and potentially risk the health of the trees. So, and then this is the ADU and the detached garage in the rear. So those are much more kind of small 1-story structures, and that's the overall vision for the project. So hopefully short and sweet, and open it up to questions.
Thank you. Does anybody have a question? No? Okay, we'll open it up for members of the public. Is there any member of the public that wishes to be heard?
There are no hands raised online.
Thank you. We'll bring it back to the council then. Is there any discussion, or does anybody have a motion?
I'll make a motion to adopt resolution number 2312.
Well, I'd like to have a moment of discussion.
Okay.
I just want to point out that this is maybe one of the oldest houses in Ross. There is some evidence that it was built in 1886, and there is better evidence that it was built in about 1899. There is photographic evidence to show that it was there in 1905. I hate to see a potentially historic isn't the right word, and I'm fishing around for the right word, but a significant house that had a lot of age go. But I think it's appropriate for it to go, and I am very much in support of the plan that has been offered.
With that, would you like to second the motion?
I would like to second the motion.
Okay.
Councilmember McMillan?
Aye.
Councilmember Kircher?
Aye.
Councilmember Robbins?
Aye.
Mayor Breckus?
Aye.
Councilmember Cool?
Aye.
With a vote of 5, the motion passes.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
We're going to move on to item number 20, 101 Upper Road. Design review, hillside lot permit and variance.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. Tonight, the applicant at 101 Upper Road is requesting approval of design review, a hillside lot permit, and a variance to construct new landscape structures. These structures include a swimming pool, retaining walls, patio, an outdoor shower, an outdoor kitchen, a fire pit, and the pool equipment. The project also proposes to construct a 6-foot tall fence along the existing driveway. An ADU has been approved ministerially and is not part of the town council review. A variance is required to allow for the construction of all new landscape structures within the side and rear yard setback. The project was reviewed by the ADR twice on March 21st, 2023 and April 18th, 2023. At the March meeting, the ADR members suggested the applicant remove the roof deck and guardrails on the ADU, also to relocate the outdoor shower. 3 of the ADR members mentioned that the project was too disconnected from the house and suggested pulling the project in towards the main house. And another ADR member suggested removing the walls on the terrace. After the hearing, the applicant removed the stairs leading to the ADU roof as well as the guardrails. The applicant also removed and relocated the outdoor shower and outdoor kitchen. Changes also include reducing the size of the pool, moving the ADU 2 feet towards the house, plant screening, and put up a fence between the driveway and the project. At the April meeting, the ADR members appreciated the changes from the previous meeting. A majority of the ADR members supported the project. However, all had suggestions during the meeting. All the ADR members suggested removing the deck area that faced the driveway easement. One of the ADR members was hopeful to have all the neighbors' support. Another ADR member understood that the lot is an odd shape and steep, which lends itself to the variance. Another ADR member thought moving the pool closer to the house would not be a significant change, so it's not necessary, and mentioned tying up the back patio that is in the setback would help reduce the height of the retaining walls. The applicant has removed the patio deck and reconfigured the ADU to keep all the foot traffic out of the area. The applicant has also placed the pool equipment underground and moved the project back into the hillside. Staff requests that the Town Council adopts resolution number 2316 approving design review, a hillside lot permit, and a variance for the subject project. Thank you.
Any questions of staff?
Just a question on the impervious surface. I noticed that it's going up by, 500 square feet? I'm wondering if there's any additional mitigation that's planned for that.
We have the applicant here.
Brad, can you please address that? Yes, please.
There's civil engineering plans that have addressed the bioretention of this project, and the only impervious surface we're adding is the swimming pool. The patios will be permeable, and then there's a living roof over the ADU that will also be permeable as well. The main patio area is square set into a turf or ground cover that will also be permeable. So we've done our best. We just don't have any place on the site to give up permeability. So there is civil engineering, and it'll be addressed for the building permit to address the bioretention.
Thank you. So with that, did the applicant want to make a presentation, or do you want to just have a rebuttal for comments? Which would you prefer?
Lexi's
And
here.
okay,
He's
and if
the
you do,
owner,
if you
and he was going to say a couple words, and then we can keep it brief. I think the staff report was excellent, and we've done significant neighbor outreach. We've had many meetings with neighbors and worked with the ADR people. They had really great suggestions, actually, that we think improved the project. And we have unanimous neighbor support after many meetings and adjusting heights and pushing the features back into the hillside. And it's been a collaborative process, and I think it's been for the benefit of the project.
We always like to hear
Lexi,
that.
if you want to say anything, and if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer.
Yeah, and if you wouldn't mind speaking into the microphone, because we could have somebody on Zoom that wants to hear.
Hi. No, thank you guys for having us. My name is Lexi. Me and my family have lived in Ross for 3 years now. I grew up in Marin. We have 2 kids in Ross School, a 5th grader and a 2nd grader. No, we're just very excited to kind of move forward with this project. Yes, we did. We had received letters of neighbor support previously, and we actually did last night receive an email from the one remaining neighbor wishing us all the best in the town council meeting today. So that was really a nice step as well for this project.
Okay, does anybody have any other further questions? Should we bring it back to council then? I'm sorry, I didn't open up for public comment. Can we just see if there's anybody who wants to be heard?
There are no raised hands online.
Okay, thank you. Bring it back to council.
So I move we approve Resolution 2316.
I'll second.
Councilmember McMillan? Aye. Councilmember Kircher?
Aye.
Councilmember Robbins?
Aye.
Mayor Breckus?
Aye.
Councilmember Cool?
Aye.
With a vote of 5, the motion passes.
Okay, we're going to move on to 21A, council correspondence. Has anyone received any correspondence? Okay, moving on to item 21B, future council items. Regarding the fire item, I guess I would just almost say maybe we should see what further things are developing, because it could be, I would support it, but I would also suggest we give staff discretion to decide the timing of that and whether it should be on the next agenda or the following.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Mayor Breckus. It's really fluid, so I don't know exactly what the next steps are. I think our 2 representatives on the fire board could also give an update next time. I'm not sure if there will be an item scheduled that they would want to seek guidance from their fellow council members on before they go. We don't know what it is going to be.
Well, and we could also, I mean, you can always update folks, and if there's a need to put it on, then we
Right.
can do that. So.
Mhm.
Well, it's in the afternoon. So, yeah, any other future council items?
Yes, I would propose that we agendize further consideration of adopting some sort of regulation of STR, short-term rentals.
I heard that there was 2 people applying to that, so that carries. Is there anybody else that has another item?
I think it needs to be at the September meeting, because I don't think Bill's going to be around for the August meeting. Is that right?
Well, normally we would set the agenda with staff, so we'll do that. Is there any other agenda items are there any other agenda items? Beach? Okay. We're adjourned.
Thank you.
Okay. Oh, that's right. We're going into, I'm gonna
We
open
adjourned,
the special council meeting. It was supposed to start at 8, so we're tardy.
We left it right here and we still forgot it. You didn't. She was just, you did. Okay, I'm so sorry.
I forgot it. So
I
moving
did.
on to the special agenda, called to order, and next item is item number 2. Do we have staff report?
Yes, thank you. I apologize for the late item. We found out recently that in order for a interim planning and building director to join the staff on July 5th. His name is David Woltering, and he worked for the town for 2 months roughly last year, when we had a vacancy in this position. And he is a CalPERS retiree, so he has to work in accordance with CalPERS rules. And so this resolution that is attached to the staff report and an agreement, an employment agreement with Mr. Woltering is attached to the resolution, and it is required that the council adopt the resolution authorizing the employment agreement
Okay.
so
is
that he
there
can start working on July 5th.
Any questions? Can we open it up to the public?
There are no raised hands.
Bring it back to council. Is there a motion?
I move we approve Resolution 2324.
Second.
Councilmember McMillan? Councilmember Kircher?
Aye.
Councilmember Robbins?
Aye.
Mayor Breckus?
Aye.
Councilmember Krul?
Aye.
With a vote of 5, the motion passes.
Okay, adjourned.
Thank you.
Give me my pounder.
One more last, one more edit.
No, this one's mine.
Oh.